Hi. This is a pre-recorded performance. It's a slideshow of my experiences from walking in a local park. Although I'm live in the recording here, I'm not live with you there. The future of me is live with you now, and we're all alive. But if you're watching this as a recording, you're only live with a document of life in this screen. The hand and the mouse now visible are happening at the same time I'm speaking. I may make mistakes in this presentation. That is because, like most of us in the time of the 2020 and ongoing pandemic, I'm a human trying to manage technology and speak about difficult subjects at the same time. Behind me, or in front of me, is a mental map that I made in watercolor to relate to you. The blue pins correspond to the locations I'm going to share with you today. When we return to this map, some pins will turn orange. That's for the experience that I'll be talking about. Therapeutically Prescribed Walking in Sibley Volcanic Regional Preserve by Jeys. Words are very hard to get out, and there's an impulse to code my language that maybe comes from having to manage and then reframe negative thoughts. My moods have been roller coastering. My lows have been pretty low, and I struggle to get up to normal, which is as high as I ever do get. These walks in the park are often when I can reliably, but not always, get up from a low. It's the winter between 2020 and 2021, and I have depression. These walks are prescribed by my therapist for 2 to 3 times a week. I take these walks as if they were a pharmaceutical pill from a psychiatrist. I used to take an SSRI dose until I developed migraines after sun exposure as a side effect. These walks are the replacement therapy to that prescription. I know when I haven't taken this medicine, not just from the gap in my morning, but from the darkening of my mood. Every hike, I come prepared to record what I see or feel once I've cleared my mood. After improved circulation, I can start seeing beauty, the kind of capital B beauty that makes me grateful for the gift of being able to see it. I bring my tools to practice, slowing down and observing, not blowing past the moment, but really sitting in it. In my backpack, I bring a foldable stool, a bottle of water, and a snack. For observing, I have a sketchbook, a pencil, a water brush, a Sumi ink brush pen, an eraser, a pencil sharpener, a water well, a paper towel, and a small set of watercolor pens that I can replace. I also bring a hair elastic in case the wind makes my hair a frustration. Ugh. And I've started bringing a lump of clay to work in 3 dimensions. The clay is new, but it seems appropriate to the landscape filled with wet earth and textures I've seen in clay before. I also layer up. I always bring a hat, a puffy jacket, sunglasses, and of course my mask. This mask is printed with a painting I made during the wildfire days when smoke blacked out the sun. While I hike around waiting for my mood to shift, I will often listen to text to keep me company and give me focus while my mind is changing. I've been listening to critical art theory. Since I've never found an audiobook in this genre, I've had to convert photos of the book's text into speech using an app on my phone. Sometimes the app has a glitch, and the audio will be incomprehensible for a time while I walk.
The 3120 and a separarel pun crantal red callies kurt per 1 dilagril leaf and itty.
Usually, I just wait for the glitch to clear, much like my mood, and I'll understand normally again, and I'll just trust that I haven't lost much in the glitch. When I first came to this park, I would come to visit the public labyrinth that's marked on the trail sign here. Now, I tend to find new, unmarked labyrinths. These are just 3 that I have nice photos of, but by my last count, I've found at least 7 rock paths like these and several other spirals that seem to disappear and reappear periodically. I've been listening to a book on participatory art while I hike. As I listen to a book text about labyrinths as a form of exhibition challenge,
and brief dissections of the group's 2 attempts to overturn exhibition formats via the labyrinth, Die Welt aus Labyrinth, Stedelijk Museum.
I was also encountering physical labyrinths in this park. I decided the coincidence was worth sitting down for. I sat here and listened to the text spoken by my app's British voice for Claire Bishop's Artificial Hells. The rabbit hole that this sent me down, artists in the 1960s using the labyrinth as a conceptual construct to challenge museum curators to think about participation, led me to the discovery of this publication called The Situationist Times. I've been interested in the Situationists International, a group of avant-garde artists making work about what I understand as the attention economy. During one rainy day, I found a group of people playing wind instruments inside and around this labyrinth. I thought of them as rain fairies and tried to keep my distance in case the rain really was coming at their calling. Maybe it was a kind of derive, and the participatory nature of their ritual was at once available as contemporary art practice and also as archaic tradition. I meet my friends in the park, the dogs who walk, run, and play off leash. When pandemic first started, my very first ever dog companion got sick and passed away. She had an underlying, undiagnosed condition, megaesophagus, which made it hard for her to get food to her stomach. She ended up suffering, and the regurgitating food that stayed in her esophagus led to aspirating pneumonia, from which she would not recover. While I worked through my grief of losing my dog, this park and its endlessly filled character list of pups gave me a safe way to process my love for all of the good dogs. The park allows for off-leash but under voice-controlled dog walking. These off-leash encounters let me imagine that they were my friends too. Now, some of these dogs really do know me. On the right is one of my closest friends, a golden Labrador that I have seen nearly twice a week for months now. At the time of shelter-in-place orders, this was a big deal for me socially. Any social physical contact, even with non-humans, and especially with social animals like dogs, gave me a sense of being in friendship during a time when I couldn't be with my friends in person. There are a few regular sites in the park that I think of when I begin my journey. When I came across a set of rocks at the top of a ridge, I saw a game of scale and set my camera to try and monumentalize these embedded rocks into the height of mountains by putting them into the faraway horizon line. Since that visit, I've been compelled by this place and returned for more creative observation. One time, I wrapped the rock in paper, seen at the right. I worked on a rainy day and used a nearby puddle to fill my sponge with water and to shape this paper around the surface of the rock. I imagine this paper having an intimate relationship with this rock, both in contact and in sharing an experience of wetness. There's a special relationship paper has to water, able to get wet and retain its integrity and strength. Here are some other moments of paper and water. This time with color in the water. I painted the rocks and the surrounding view in my sketchbook. Another regularly visited location for my visits is further into the park. It's in a valley. The first time I came across this place, I wanted it to keep its mysteries, but I was compelled to keep returning. The text from the small sign visible in the center of the image on the left reads,
9. See hard lava to the right and left, and soft, easily eroded tuff between, all tilted eastward almost to vertical. The lava to the left baked the top of the tuffs brick red. This lava looks as if it was probably 100 to 150 feet thick. These flows were not fluid, but contained enough silica to be more viscous. They probably moved at a slow walk, with glowing blocks of lava tumbling down a steep front and setting vegetation on fire.
I also tried to sculpt this place in clay. The challenge was that the earth was so overwhelmingly large, and my hands and the clay were too comically small by comparison. I managed to paint these from a respectful distance, but still, the place is an experience greater than my individual capacity. Most of what makes this park remarkable is the visible geological features, especially the volcanic history. This wouldn't be available for observing if this place hadn't once been a quarry for rocks. Many of the labyrinths sit at the bottom of these quarries, and although I visit this park for an experience of nature, I'm also learning the ways in which we are only capable of understanding nature through working with one another to imagine what it can represent. At the top of the red shape in the middle of the sketch is where the rock formation is. The volcano is around the red shape to the left. Of course, it's impossible to show everything in one image, but that doesn't keep me from trying anyway. Once it was pointed out to me that my sketches don't have people in them. Then I realized I'm not able to document things that are moving at a certain pace. That is, moving at all. I'm also very aware that we can't interact with one another while we worry about the possibility of passing a virus between us. This has made me learn to keep my distance both physically and psychically from other people. But at the end of the winter in 2021, things started to shift. I often think of rocks as characters, and when I sat down to the trail to observe this one, I became a character myself, to other people hiking by. One hiker came by and told me that she also comes out here to paint. I had taken this photo of her a few days before, so I was happy to be meeting her. She asked me which colors I was using for the purple and the lupines, and she said they were hard to get right. I agreed. Purples are challenging, and I shared that even simple sunlight changes like a cloud or a foggy day could change any quality of color. Once I've experienced mysteries, wonders, and greetings in this park, I will always be pulled back to my life by the computer screen, back to the surveillance community of Zoom, forced to connect my meaning through the limitations of internet service and file size and screen fatigue. On the way back, I witnessed fractures. I was reminded of this image when I read Rebecca Solnit's opening essay in Wanderlust.
With every winter's rain, more and more red earth and road surface crumbled away, sliding into a heap at the ruinous bottom of the steep slope the road had once cut across.
I continue to return to the park in the spring and the summer, and I'm noticing more and more change. After so much time using the place as a ritual mood cleanser, I can see it becoming again the place it was before pandemic, but with a renewed sense of connectivity between visitors and an enthusiasm for sharing time and space with rocks and plants and animals and people away from the screen.